Hi guys, Aceface here, back with another video for you, and today we're going to talk tactics. We're going to talk Exocrine tactics. So this has been heavily requested by a lot of my subscribers, so that's why I'm doing it for you guys. And it's a good time to do it because we use them slightly different possibly than we would in 6th edition, in 7th edition. So how is this guy best used? Well, the first thing that's most important about this guy is he is a midfield player. So you need to get him to the middle of the battlefield to be at his most effective. He's not useful if you get him right forward, and you're going to struggle anyway because he's not particularly quick and he's not good camping out in your deployment zone. You need him in the middle of the battlefield to get the best use out of him. So bearing that in mind, the second thing that you really need to take into account with this guy is he's not a synapse creature, so you do need to keep him in range to get his full effective ability of his gun. So the best way to do that is use a net. So use your warriors at the back of the board and your hive tyrants, they're going forward, and that way you have, hopefully, particularly if you're using Dominion, you'll have a net that will catch him in the middle, and that will give his full ability to make sure that he's free to do what he wants to do. So that's the first thing, or the second thing even. What you then need to take into account with him is his high toughness and multi-wounds, but you want him to get a bit of cover. So you can do that in a few ways. One way is to keep him close to terrain, and that might sound obvious, but actually it's neglected at times. You need to keep him close to terrain to make sure that you're getting some line of sight blocking terrain when you need it, and you're using ruins or area terrain to attempt to kind of give you some cover. It's also kind of quite effective to use him with a Venom Throat, but that you could be said with most Tyranid units. So, and what you're going to find is potentially your Venom Throat is probably babysitting the warriors at the back, trying to take care of those objectives. So he might not have a Venom Throat, which is key then that you make sure you use the terrain around you to give yourself some extra cover. Because if he's got cover as well, because he's got 5 wounds and the high toughness, even if they're chucking high strength stuff at him, there's a good chance he'll survive a couple of turns, particularly if you've got other higher priority targets that are imposing on the enemy. So it's good to use your terrain to make sure you keep him safe. Now, tricks to use this guy. Onslaught is amazing for him. If you get Onslaught on one of your tyrants or whatever it may be that's close by, you can, if you're tactically sound, and particularly if your enemy doesn't necessarily make the best decisions with deployment, you can potentially get this guy within range first turn if you're lucky, because with Onslaught it means that you can run and then shoot, and because of the way that this guy's rules are stated, obviously with him, he generally, if you move him, you lose ballistic skill. Well, actually, with Onslaught, you can run him. It doesn't count as the same thing, so you can run him and still use his gun at a high ballistic skill, which is really effective, because if you can get in range to be able to get the individual shots out on an armoured tank that's going to make a quick rush at you first turn, can be very, very handy. So Onslaught is always worth taking into account with this guy. He's also someone that would be very useful to have Catalyst on him first turn, because again that makes him a little bit more survivable when he's making that initial run forward, because that's what he needs to do. First couple of turns he needs to get into a position where he's very effective. Going back to the cover, another effective way of using him is by purchasing an Aegis defense line and using that as far forward as you possibly can, and then running him up towards that. Now, I haven't checked the wording myself, and maybe I should have, but I don't expect the Aegis defense lines to change with fortifications. Fortifications can be deployed anywhere in your half, not just in your deployment zone. If you place that fortification, that Aegis defense line, further forward, again that gives him that extra advantage of running up and getting behind it. So it's an effective use of it. But that is more or less him. he is best for taking out light armour and or high elitist troops. So he's an awesome Terminator killer, and he is an awesome transport killer. That's what you want to focus him on taking out, particularly Terminators. He's very, very good at taking out Terminators, but because he's AP2, he's very good at destroying tanks, so they're best uses for him. And also, I would say what I've had quite a lot of luck with is don't neglect the fact that because he's got so many shots, that little pop shot at a flyer can be very, very good, because actually, because it's strength 8 and AP2, you've got a good chance of, all you need to do is land one of those shots, and then you're going to be in for a good bit of chance of taking that flyer out. Okay, so if you've got any questions or ideas on how best to use this, or if you've got other things you want to ask me about him, please do drop the comments below, and I will get back to you and answer any questions you've got on him. And please do also put any comments or suggestions on what unit you'd like me to cover next as far as 7th edition tactics for Tyranids. But until the next video, thanks for watching, take care now, bye bye.